24th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. To order, this meeting is held in person as well as on Zoom. You can call it at 253-215-8782. Or excuse me, that is the Tacoma phone number. It's 719-359-4580, web ID 863-8055-0264. And we will have a roll call with commissioners stating their name tonight.
Kyle Jones.
Yeah, so could we, as we do this, could we just go across the row? So we're trying to use this transcription, and could you just say your name when you get called on, so that the AI knows who you are for purposes of tracking the conversation?
Right. It's not, I don't know why it's not activating.
Yeah, and for tonight, I'd suggest that when you guys are up, we just turn on all the mics. There's only 5 of you. It's not going to be a problem.
Amy Connerton.
Joy White.
John Houghton.
Connie Guyman.
Okay, great. So we'll move to receive the minutes from December 18th. Did we have any discussion on those or?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve December meeting minutes with one question, not necessarily a correction, but there was something that Commissioner Cowan said that wasn't responded to by staff. I'm assuming staff responded to all of our questions. It was on page 2. It was, can we highlight the other programs in the community while we do education on this? And there was no response from staff, but I'm sure you responded to us.
I'm sure I said yes.
Yes. I'm sure you didn't give us the silent treatment.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second that motion.
Okay, and we'll just do a verbal. Oh, question's been called. Do we approve the minutes? Okay.
Looks like the vote was unanimous, 5-0.
Perfect. We'll move to approve the meeting minutes for January 24th.
I'll make a motion to approve January 24th, 2026.
I'll second that motion.
Vote was also unanimous, 5-0.
Okay, do we have any comments from citizens appearing for items not on the agenda tonight? And that would be in person or anyone online. Seeing none, we will move on to our new planning items that we're seeing tonight. First item is planning file SUP 000-131-2025, special use permit childcare at 515 Flat Tops Drive. And we'll hear from Emery tonight.
All right, so I'll be presenting on the special use permit, and I will be sharing my screen. Okay, so this item is a special use permit for a childcare in the residential high density zoning district. And then, so just to start out, just a refresher on what special use permits are. Again, code outlines a variety of land uses, and land uses can be a use by right or prohibited. And then in between, you have what's called a special use permit. And so that's basically where, on a case-by-case basis, Planning and Zoning Commission would review a potential land use and either approve that use or deny it. And so in code, there's all sorts of different things that are special uses. And in this case, what we're considering tonight is a large childcare center in the residential high density zoning district. And so you can see childcare centers, we have 3 different classes. So a large one is anything over 12 children. And they're permitted by right use in some zoning districts, but in any of the residential zoning districts, they're special use permit. And so that's why we're here tonight with this application. So again, there are 6 criteria that we look at for a special use permit. So they are here and they were listed in the staff report. And so the main point is just looking at it on a case-by-case basis to make sure that it's compatible with the neighborhood and that any negative impacts are being addressed. And so in this case, the applicant, it's at 515 Flat Tops View Drive. And so this is in the new Glenwood Meadows Apartments complex above Glenwood Meadows. This is in the residential zoning district. And again, it's part of that larger development. And the size of the building is 4,600 square feet approximately. So here is, so this aerial photo, it shows the location of that child care center. And so these are all the residential buildings. And then this building, half of it is the clubhouse for the development. And then this other half is where the child care is proposed. So again, here's the zoning map of that area. So you can see all of that area is that residential high density zoning district. You know, if this use were located maybe across the street in this zoning district or that one, that would have been a permitted by right use, would not be here tonight. So again, some background. The entire Glenwood Meadows project was approved as a major site and architectural plan, and it was represented that this space would be a daycare in that original approval. And the intent was always that the future operator would come back to Planning and Zoning Commission to apply for that special use permit, which that's what they're here doing tonight. And so again, from the start, that's what this place was intended for. So again, just a little bit of information, about 4,600 square feet. You can see this is, you have this parking area next to it. There's already a play area. This has already been built out. There's already a fence. There's not any play equipment yet, as they're here for that special use permit. But again, that's the layout of the space and where it is. And they would operate with a proposed capacity of 73 students and then also have a number of teachers as well, which the applicant, I'm sure, can talk more about their operations if you have questions on that. So part of our analysis too is, and this was from the start, looking at the whole development is, you know, is there enough parking? And so in total, everything, all the apartment buildings, the clubhouse, the daycare, in total, it requires 550 spaces across the whole development, and they have 557. And so they do meet the required parking for daycare use. Another thing that the applicant has provided is some traffic assessment. And so again, with a daycare, you definitely have maybe that higher peak AM and PM hours, which is spread out depending on when children are picked up. One thing to point out is that these volumes don't really trigger any intersection improvements. And then also given its location, there are 2 entrances to the development. So if there's any stacking or traffic, it's not going to come out and affect Wolfson. So that's a benefit. And then also too, there's probably, you know, I'd imagine given the high density of residential units nearby, probably some people will be able to walk their kids. Uses, a lot of times will have use specific standards. And so in the case of childcare, before, for example, if the applicant comes back with a building permit, before a certificate of occupancy would be issued, we would request that they provide documentation that they have preliminary approval from the state. And so that's the idea, that we would not permit a childcare that hasn't approached the state yet. And then the second piece is just that they buffer play areas through use of fencing, which already exists on the site. So again, these are the criteria, which as outlined in the staff report, staff finds that it meets all the criteria. Again, it's compatible with the surrounding area. This was really the intent of the space from the beginning, with the original development approval for that residential development. And again, it minimizes conflicts with the area. And it is nice that it is in the front of the development. and a little bit away from the residential buildings. So again, this was all in the staff report. And then again, just a couple of reviewing comments. Building department has already, so the building is built out. It would require a tenant finish. So building department has inspected it, but there aren't, there's not drywall in that space. The applicant, if approved their special use permit tonight, will come back with a building permit and it will get inspected, go through that whole process. But tonight is kind of that first step in that whole process. There were a number of letters of support included in the packet for public comment. So again, there's really one action item for consideration tonight, and that's the special use permit. And staff recommends approval with the findings and conditions on pages 8 and 9. And then again, if there's some suggested conditions, if you feel like additional ones need to be added, you can include that in your motion. And then also, as always, if you have an alternative motion, you would need to make a motion to deny and then provide findings for each criteria as listed below. So I'll stop sharing my screen.
Okay, any questions from commissioners or staff?
Oh, I do have one. Might as well ask. So that area, the lighting, like just in that back general area is just absolutely horrible. And just I'm thinking, when people are picking up or whatever, during the winter months, 4 o'clock, it's really dark up there. It's dark on those back type of roads. Is there going to be any sort of improvement to, I know we were talking about dark sky, but at the same time, it's going to be a whole different ballgame with people coming and going.
Yeah, so in code and the way that development was approved is there are minimum lighting amounts for a parking lot, and so those are met. Now I imagine too, and that could be a conversation that the applicant might have with the property owner of maybe improving some of that lighting if people are finding it too dark to navigate. So that wouldn't really be a part of consideration of special use permit. There's not any lighting aspects of this special use permit. So that'd be kind of outside the review process for this permit.
But it'll meet the standards, and the standards weighs all of that.
Correct.
Okay, I have couple questions. So the traffic plan stated that it did not assess traffic on Wolfson because that was included in the original approval of.
Well, it did. It's just that the volumes aren't enough to trigger an improvement. So
Okay.
they would have to be, you'd have to have a very, very large improvement that would result in traffic volumes far exceeding the existing one. And that we're talking like, okay, you're going to put this huge development in, you need to add a stoplight or a turn lane or a median.
Okay.
So that's what I meant.
So, okay, that makes sense. My question is, those streets are just horrible. And so I know that's not a part of this special use permit. I just am curious if we know when those streets are gonna be repaired.
I'm not sure what the schedule is.
I'm not sure
I
exactly.
just know
what
that people
schedule-
bring that up
Yeah.
frequently.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, sorry, Trent Height with community development here, but it is in consideration for future years. I can't tell you exactly
Okay.
when.
Okay. So, and then the other question I had just regarding the traffic plan or the traffic assessment was, does that assessment weigh all the other development that's happening with RAFTA, or is it just current
Yeah, so
conditions?
to maybe take a step back. So when the original major site and architectural plan came in for the whole development, they did their traffic numbers just for the residential units. They didn't actually include the daycare. And so
Mhm.
that's why the applicant had to do this time around.
Okay,
So those numbers are specifically for the size of the daycare in this location. So
okay. So is the RAFTA development included in that
no.
study?
no.
No.
The
But-
one, well, I mean, there is a larger one for the entirety of Glenwood Meadows. That
Okay.
has been done in the past. But again, the one that was for this application is just specifically for the daycare.
Okay.
Yeah, the original BLD development did contribute funds towards improvements at the West Wolfson roundabout future construction. RAFTA as well is on the hook for contributing funds to redevelop that as well. But again, just the level of traffic associated with this specific daycare doesn't generate the volumes that would require a full-blown traffic impact analysis where we're analyzing adjacent intersections, just because it doesn't generally have the amount of volumes that would
Right.
cause a significant impact to those.
Okay, and I think I was just kind of curious as to how they interacted, because we have kind of this limbo land with RAFTA being developed and, okay. But we're still way under that threshold, it sounds like. I think that was all I had. Anything else? Nope. Okay, we'll hear from the applicant. Thank you, Emery. If you would state your names, please.
I'm Dustin Robertson. And I'm Kelly Beal. We have been co-owners of Honey Tree Preschool in Elgin for the past 6 years. It's a large licensed childcare center and with 112 children a day. We're here tonight for the approval of the special use permit for the childcare use at the 515 Flat Top View Drive in the Meadows development. If approved, our plan is to operate a 5-classroom, large licensed childcare center serving 72 children a day. 3 of those 5 classrooms will be dedicated to infants through ages 2.5, because that is the biggest childcare gap we see in this area. Over the years, we've had many families commute from the Glenwood area to our current school, specifically for infant and toddler care, because options are so limited in this area. We consistently hear the same thing. Families can often find preschool here in Glenwood, but they can't find care for under ages 2.5. So this project is designed to directly address that unmet need. If approved, our commitment is to run a safe, well-managed center that fits the neighborhood, strong on-site leadership, clear operating policies, and full compliance with licensing, health, and safety requirements. We want to be a responsible long-term neighbor and a reliable resource for the working families here in Glenwood. And here to take any questions you have.
Any questions from commissioners?
When would be your, if you got your special use permit tonight, when would be the opening date or the expected opening date?
We're hoping August or September. We still have to apply for the building permit. We're waiting for our building docs, maybe the first or second week into March, hopefully applying for that. It should be a quick build out, so like 3 months, and then hopefully a month for moving in and training and everything. So August, September, hopefully, fingers crossed.
We do Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5:30 for the families that have to commute.
Amazing.
And we educate our teachers so that they're LEED certified.
Yeah, we have strong working. Yeah, we should create about 15 to 17 new jobs too in the area. Which we have a lot of teachers that live down here, so they're excited to kind of cut down their commute.
Talk to us about pickup and drop off and how that's gonna function.
Parents pick up or drop off between 7:30 and 9:30 every day. It's not like we have 112 at our current location.
One in and out.
It doesn't ever get congested.
Right.
And then parents pick up between, I would say, 3:30 to 5:30, depending on their work schedule. So it never really is like one time drop off pickup.
And then I read something in the packet about that you all have buses up in Elgin.
We have a bus and a van so
Okay.
that we can take our kids out in the community and do field trips.
That's a big
Awesome.
part of it, is not the kids to be in the classroom all day. We really bring them down here. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're good.
Thank you.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
It is.
We are good.
Okay. do we want to entertain a motion?
Comment.
Public comment. Does anyone? Does anyone want to comment on this? Okay, seeing none, now we will entertain a motion.
Okay. Well, I will move to approve planning file SUP 000 or 4062/2025 with the suggested findings and conditions outlined in the staff report. And the suggested findings 1 through 6 and suggested conditions 1 through 7.
Sorry, point of order. I just wanted to check and see which was the correct SUP number. I noticed a different suggested motion than was at the top. Can you
Seen
please?
it two different ways in two different places.
Okay.
That's one of my.
Can you
And
reconfirm
on the
that?
report, the staff report, front page is the one I just read.
Yeah.
It should be 1000131, 2025.
Okay, so that was incorrect. So
I apologize.
No, good catch.
the catch is well done, but I don't have that right in front of me. 131,
2020.
131, 2025. You're welcome. I'm guessing though, the suggested findings 1 through 6 and suggested conditions 1 through 7 haven't changed.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Sure. And any discussion?
I think it's a great thing. It's a high need. And it was a really well, I really liked the project description. And so it was really easy for us to kind of sift through and, you know, just understanding all the different criteria. And I'm excited for Honey Tree, I guess. Is that what this is called? Yeah. Okay.
I'd just like to echo the same thing. I know personal friends who have been on wait lists for years, and so I really appreciate, I know it's a really hard industry to retain staff and it's just hard work. So I really appreciate you all endeavoring to do this. And yes, the packet that you presented was thorough, and appreciated the comments as well. So well done. Okay. We'll call the question.
Voting passed unanimously, 5-1, 5-0.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yep. Okay, we are moving on to planning file ARC 000130, 2025 minor site and architectural plan and design variances for 210 8th Street. And I need to recuse myself because a coworker expressed a letter of an opinion about the project. Yeah. Get Joy out of here.
We'll figure it out.
But I got you. Thank you.
Enjoy your coat.
Oh.
Okay, where were we? So now we're moving on to Planning and Zoning Commission file number ARC 000130, 2025 and variance or VAR 000019, 2026. And hit it, Emery.
All right, so I'll be presenting on this and I'll be sharing my screen. So for tonight, essentially there are two things that Planning and Zoning Commission will be looking at. The first one is the minor site and architectural plan. And for that one, you're going to be making a recommendation. So that part of the application is going to go on to City Council for a final approval. And then the second piece is with this design of this proposed mixed-use building, there are some design variances. Now, for those items, Planning and Zoning Commission is going to be the deciding body. And so that part of the application would not go on to City Council. So that is where you're going to be making that final decision on those items. Let's go. Okay, so just a little bit again, we have two items. It's for a mixed use building, about 30,000 square feet with 24 residential units and then 2 ground floor commercial spaces. The applicant is Whipple Development LLC. So they're here and they'll do a presentation after me if you have any questions for them. Again, property is 7,500 square feet and it's in the downtown. So it's just that vacant lot right over here. And so again, action item number 1 will be the minor site and architectural plan. And so staff is recommending a recommendation for approval with the findings and conditions in the staff report. And so again, your options for that tonight are recommend the approval, recommend approval with additional conditions, recommend denial, or continue the item to another meeting. And then the second item, and I will note, so with the design variances, they are listed individually in the staff report. And so the idea is if Planning and Zoning Commission feels that they want to make a motion on each individual one, you can certainly do that. Or you can also just as action item 2, consider them all together. In any case, staff has recommended the approval of all of them. And so here, action item 2, considering the design variances, there is a recommendation for approval. And so again, getting into it, it's this parcel right here, 210 8th Street. So it's currently a surface parking lot. Previously, before that surface parking lot was there, it also used to be a bank, and that was demolished to make the parking lot around 2000. And so again, it's located in the M2 mixed use district, which is pretty much most of downtown. Then you can see as you go out, you get into some of the other zoning districts. One unique thing about this property is there are some other geographic areas that we look at. And so it's located within the blue is what's called the downtown core. And so some of the design variances relate to that, is that there's some specific design standards for when you're in that area. The yellow area is what's called the general improvement district, which is actually a taxing district, which has some implications as far as parking requirements. And then the white area is what's called the downtown commercial overlay district. And so purpose of that and the regulations that go along with it are to encourage retail on the ground floor, which is what this project is proposing. So again, just some more photos of the site from different perspectives. So again, project summary. So this is a rendering of what the building would look like. Again, there's 2 retail spaces, and then it's a combination of 1 and 2 bedroom units, varying locations in the building and kind of a varying size for those residential units. So again, ground floor retail, residential on the next 3 stories. And then there's also a basement level that has storage both for the residents and for the retail businesses. And so again, with the minor site and architectural plan, we're working with 4 criteria, which essentially is that it's consistent with purpose and intent of code, meets code, is consistent with any previous land approvals, which don't apply to this application, and then also that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. And so again, the M2 zoning district, one thing about this zoning district is it does not have any setbacks. And so you can build right up to the lot line, which when you look at a lot of downtown buildings, traditional buildings, they are right up to the sidewalk. And so just like you can see here, Citizens Bank building and then the Barnes Haycock building on the corner, that's right up to the sidewalk. And so this building proposes the same. It would be right up to that property line. That doesn't mean you have to build up to it. It's just, you can. And again, same thing goes for the side and rear of the property. And then also too, being in the M2 zoning district, there's actually no requirements for landscaped area. Again, kind of reflecting that downtown, more urban building pattern. Another aspect too is with any zoning district, you do have building heights. And so in this zoning district, the building height is 40 feet to the roof. And so you see this parapet wall that can actually extend an additional 30 inches. And so all the building heights are within that along parapet wall. And then same thing goes for, they do have an elevator tower on the roof that goes an additional 6 feet beyond that 40 feet, which is again allowed. You can have that up to 10 feet. Those are exceptions in code for different things, building elements that might crack that limit. So that's all within code. Another thing too is we have community housing standards. So any project with 10 or more units has to provide deed restricted units. And for this development, because it's for rent, that's 20% of the total units. And so they would have to have 5. And we do have 2 categories. We have one which is called resident occupancy, or RO, and then another one which is your affordable. These can be the same units. You don't have to be, a lot of times they are. And basically the way to think about it, this is a little bit of a simplification. RO units they have to be rented to someone who is part of the local workforce. So lives in Glenwood, works for a Glenwood company. That's more or less what those units are required to be. And then the affordable ones, that's where you have that rent limit. And so your average rent cannot exceed 100% of local AMI. And these numbers are from 2025. And then again, the maximum rent cannot exceed 120. And so there is some room, if you have 5 units, to figure out what rents they are to meet these. But again, that is required as part of this project that 5 of them will be deed restricted. And so again, I touched on this earlier. Properties within the GID are exempt from providing off-street parking. So again, they don't have to provide it on site. The applicant, similar to, they also developed at 716 Cooper. So they have looked at the downtown and are engaging with some neighboring property owners to look for parking solutions for their renters. But again, as far as a requirement, it's not required. And so that's everything as it pertains to the minor site plan. And I'll come back to the comprehensive plan and how it aligns with that. But this is more of an overview in addition to what was provided in the staff report showing how it does meet code. So on to the design variances. And so we've talked about, we have variances and then we also have design variances. And so they have different criteria, and that's on purpose. A design variance is for sections, specifically residential design standards and non-residential design standards. And the idea is that it's a little more flexible. And so with a variance, we have 7 criteria, you have to meet all 7. With a design variance, they get split up into 2 sections where you have to meet all 3 of section A, and then with section B, you need 4 out of the 6. So there's a little more flexibility with these, with the intent that it is for design, things that maybe could be a little more subjective than a setback or a building height. That's more of a dimensional requirement. So I'll go through, there's 6 of them. So I'll just kind of go through each one just with some examples from the elevation. And so the first one, design variance 1, it's horizontal and vertical articulation every 30 feet. And so basically every 30 feet, you need to have at least 3 of these features. And so you can pick. Now, the thing is some of these features are very specific. And so, for example, the 2 that pertain, actually, let's go to the next slide, that really pertain to this building's design are glazing and roofline change. And so you can see I've split up the building in 30 feet sections. Every section of that building, for example, has a glazing. However, if you want to count glazing as a feature, it has to be 30% of the whole elevation. And so again, it has it, but just not to that numeric standard as code requires. Same thing goes for roof line height. You can see the roof line, there's definite changes in this roof line, but code requires that it be 2 feet and change for every 30-foot section. And so this is an example of where building, it's meeting the intent of that code, just not to the letter. So staff has found a recommendation for approval on all these with the general sense that it has these features, it just isn't quite meeting the exact standard. So again, so that's what this one talks about. So you can see all of these are just a little short on meeting those 3. Same thing goes for, so this would be facing west. And so you can see on one section of this elevation, it does meet it. It has a projection, change in the wall plane, it has an awning, and then it also has a change in texture masonry. So that for this part right here, no variance required, but then the rest of these, it doesn't quite meet having all 3 in the way that code describes. So that's that first variance. Same thing goes for the rear side of the building. So again, the elements are present on the front side, meets it. No variance required for that. It has more than enough. So that's that first one. So moving on again, So this was a staff recommendation, finding all 3 for the first section, and then 5 out of the 6 for section B. So the second one, this is very specific to having a certain amount of glazing on a side of the building that faces a public right of way. Now the alley, because it's public and because it's a right of way, the alley side of the building is held to this requirement to have 30% of the whole elevation be glazing. And so I highlighted all the window areas, and you can see it's 12%. So that's what 12% looks like. Now, if we go to the front side of the building, this is at 31%. So this side of the building, no variance is required for that feature. So again, 12% versus 31%. And this requirement is, again, if this were not on an alley, this requirement wouldn't be there. So that's the second design variance, is specifically for the alley side of the building, allowing glazing less than 30%. On to the third one. And so again, staff finding recommendation for approval, all 3 from A, 5 out of 6 for B. The third variance is for roof line changes. And this can be either like vertically. So, as you can see, the roof line jogs down, but it can also be for if the horizontal plane changes. And so if you have a projection or a recession. So on the rear side of the building, that's recessed in. So that part, this little section, or excuse me, larger section, because this is 50 feet. This one, not a variance is not required, but then for the rest of them, is, because even though the roof line does change, it doesn't change 2 feet. It's about 6 inches on each little jog down. And so that's what this variance is for. And you'll see similar things on the other side of the building. Again, the front meets it because of the recessed wall and the change in roof line there on the horizontal plane, but then the rest of the building, it doesn't meet it. And same thing goes for the front, and then the rear meets it because of those recessions. And then I would like to just point out, the applicant had included this little arch piece. This is not going to be on the building, because that would require actually a special use permit for going above the height limit. And so that little piece right there is not being considered. So even with it, it wouldn't meet the roof line change.
What's the height of that then?
This is
That arch piece?
from the parapet, it's like
Yeah.
another 2.5 feet. So that will not be there. And again, for the roof line change, staff recommending approval. Again, you have to have all 3 in A, and then section B is a little more flexible. We have 5 out of 6. Now the next 3 variances, I should have said this at the start. The next 3 variances are specific to the downtown design standards. So the first 3 that's regardless of any building in town, those regulations hold true. These next 3 are just very specific to the downtown. So this one's pretty straightforward. It is just your first floor facade. It needs to be between 65 and 80% glass. So this is 61% glass. Now, granted, the applicant could get to 65, but that would probably involve going into this kick plate area. So kick plate is traditionally what you see beneath the window, can be metal, usually stone, which is that's also another required architectural feature in the downtown. So extending more glass would probably eat into that and probably create some safety concerns with shoveling, plowing. So again, still staff is finding a recommendation for approval on this one as well, with similar criteria. The 5th one, so this is about, talks about vertical articulation in splitting a building up into what is considered a traditional facade width, which is specifically in code 25 feet. And so the way it would look on this building is this is 25 feet in, and there would be some form of vertical articulation from going all the way up to the top. And so on the neighboring Citizens Bank building, this is what that would look like. Now, again, what code asks for is that it be 2 feet deep and 1 feet wide. And so this over here in the Citizens Bank building, I'm just looking at it, it's probably not 2 feet deep, or it's probably more than 1 foot wide, but that's what it would look like. And so that is per code, you'd like have a brick course going down right down the middle. And the idea is that really the intent of this is to prevent a really large building coming into the downtown without, as you're walking along the street, not having that sense of, oh, here's a store, here's another business. Here's another one, which the building actually does on the first floor, is these are 3 different bays. So at the pedestrian level, it's definitely broken up. This specific requirement is just request having it be carried all the way to the top in that specific 2 feet deep, 1 foot wide. So even if the applicant had provided like a brick course that was, let's say 1 foot out, that wouldn't have met the requirement. So it's very specific. And again, so staff is finding recommendation for approval on this one as well, meeting all 3 of A, and then 4 out of 6 on B. And then finally, last one, this standard is about stepping a building back, with the idea that a building mass shall be stepped back from a street or adjacent residential zone to reduce a looming effect. So what that would look like, and I'll bring up the code reference here, but it refers to basically that top floor of the building. Now, one thing to point out is, so this is these are some examples in the downtown of where, okay, on this building, this area has been stepped back and recessed. Building has been brought down here, kind of cut up along the roof line. Here's another example on the Western where it was stepped back. This was the original building. This was kind of a newer addition. So you had a little bit of a mix here, keeping the old, adding new. One thing to point out though, is that the step back code doesn't actually give a specific quantity. It doesn't say how far the building should be stepped back. It asks that it be varied to avoid a monotonous appearance. But it doesn't say whether that step back needs to be 2 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet. But it also asks too, and this is again a downtown design standard, that the setback orientation and heights be similar to those found in the block face. And so it talks a lot about context and how it relates to the rest of the block. Well, when you look at this block, you have a very large, pretty boxy building. It's got a lot of, architectural features, but form-wise, that's a block. And similarly, this building, it has parapets. This mixes up the roof line, but it's also it's pretty block-like. So going with that context, and then even if you carry it down here to Colorado Mountain College building, that's a similar, you see this form repeated. And then that same thing if you look the other way, you have the Citizens Bank building, Barnes Haycock building, a smaller 1-story building, the county building, and then likewise across the street. And so really the idea that this isn't step back, it really is in with context of the rest of the neighborhood. And then also another thing, actually I like this vantage better. This building is about 46 feet to the top. This one is about 27. And then, so this building is going to be, you're going to basically be stepping down as you go away from Grant. So as far as fitting with the rest of the block, staff finds that it does meet the intent of this. And again, to point out that there's really no specific quantitative, well, how much should the step back be? If they just bumped it back 2 feet, technically it would meet it. Would it really achieve much? I don't think so. So again, staff finds it meets all 3 of A, and then 4 out of 6 for B. So we have a recommendation for approval. And so again, that's all the design variance conversation. Now to come back to consistency with the comprehensive plan, and this would be for the minor site consideration. This is in the downtown. A mixed use building fits in with the future land use map and what is being considered in the future for downtown. It fits in. There's a variety of goals that this project meets, which I would just summarize that it's infill development, it's mixed use, it has retail on the first floor, and then it's also close to transit. And so it meets a lot of goals from the comprehensive plan. And then again, as far as public notice, so letters were mailed to all neighboring property owners within 300 feet, posted sign, and then 2 published notices in the Post Independent. And so that's standard. Anything that you hear for a land use application, that's what's completed. And then the applicant also, and this was not a requirement, they also conducted a neighborhood meeting at the Glenwood Springs Library on February 20th. So again, just to invite members of the neighborhood to ask questions of the developer. And so that was also done. And then also, even though this is a new building, the applicant did meet with the Historic Preservation Commission, just basically kind of a courtesy review and conversation, just to talk about how it fits in with the rest of the downtown. So kind of a focus on, a lot of that downtown design standard is focused on making sure that buildings fit and are compatible with neighboring buildings. And so that was a conversation with the Historic Preservation Commission. And then the applicant also met with the Downtown Development Authority. And so that's a separate body that basically deals with the downtown. So again, they had some outreach with both of those groups in addition to all the public notice. In total, 1 public comment was received and was included in the packet. So we have 2 action items. The first being the minor site and architectural plan, which Planning and Zoning Commission is making a recommendation for council. And then the design variances is the second item, which again, both of these items are being recommended for approval. And then, as always, again, if you make an alternate motion, you do need to make a motion and then provide findings for each one of the criteria. Same thing goes for the design variance. And then just remember, it needs to meet all the first 3, and then 4 through 9, you need to get 4 out of 6. So that will conclude my presentation.
Okay. Whew, thank you.
Yeah.
That was a lot. So does the applicant wanna come up and?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Does anyone have any questions for staff?
Emery, how is grade measured to existing, finished, most restrictive?
Finished.
And I guess I have a question then. So do we have comments what the Downtown Development Authority said?
I didn't include them in the packet. Let's go back to that. They just had some questions. They asked about like where trash would go, which there's a trash dumpster inside the building, and that's off the alley. They were curious about the construction methods, which I think the applicant could talk a little more about, just like how are you actually going to build it, just being tight downtown. And then they did ask about if the applicant was considering making the buildings into condominiums, which generally when those buildings are built, a lot of the stuff the way they build it, you can do it later, but that's not a requirement of any sort. Also just tight parking, traffic, general questions. Also about the retail spaces, the Downtown Development Authority really looks at having a vibrant downtown, so they're just curious about if there's any exact proposed uses for the retail spaces. So.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have some questions about the whys of some of the design variances. Like, for example, why do you need glazing on the alley for 30%? Like, I don't understand what the purpose of that is. And is it okay if it's only 12? Because that seems like less than half.
Sure, and
Minus
that's,
my math.
I'll go to that one. And so that is, yes, absolutely, and that's why,
Screening.
oh, sorry. That's a good question.
Yeah, and while Emery's getting that, I can just fill in a little bit. The code did not specify what a public right of way was. So the alley is a public right of way. So just to be safe, we wanted to make sure that if there was a design variance that was applicable to that they requested it. I think what you'll see is that alley side of that building provides a lot more architectural detail and changes than any other facade that's adjacent to an alley in the downtown area.
So basically, an alley is a public right of way. Therefore, when I was reviewing this, I found that, well, to meet this part of code, you'd have to have 30% glazing. So that's what required the variance.
So can you explain more what glazing is
sorry.
and why we have to have 30% of the building on the right away to have 30 glazing?
Any glass, which could be a window or a door. And I think probably a better way to illustrate it is on the front of the building. If you have a building face that has maybe, let's say, one window on the 3rd story and there's a door without any window, that's not a very welcoming building. So if you have a downtown area, you want to have windows. Okay, is that a retail space? What's there? What do they have for sale? It's a business. You can see people working. And so really a lot of that is about, vibrancy. And then also if you're a user of the building too, windows, add to the experience.
Well, then that leads me to this one too, which it was supposed to be 65 to 80%. Is that just on that main level? Oh, back to the front. Was that just on the main level, or the whole thing is supposed to be 65 to 80%?
Correct. So it would just the first floor of the primary
Yeah.
facade. So just,
How is that not, that looks like almost 100%. How is that not 65%? Where are we losing?
the kick plate, for example, that runs the full length of the building and then is probably like 2 feet high, in between the windows. Also, not the entire door is glass. And then you have this section right here all above the windows. So 80% glass would be a lot of glass.
Mhm.
So it's 65.
Any other questions?
I have a few, but somebody else can go for them.
Nope, go ahead.
Is there any parking requirements for a building like this in downtown?
So since it's in, here, I'll go back to the map. Since it's within the general improvement district, no.
So where are these people gonna park?
So there's, I mean, on-street parking is available, and then also there's the parking ramp, and then there's off-street public parking spaces and public lots. And then also the applicant, I'll let the applicant talk more. They're also working with private property owners to get leases for their tenants.
Isn't the parking downtown 2 hours max?
It depends on where you are, but generally, yes.
And then are we gonna start requiring pay for parking soon too?
That would definitely be a larger conversation that I think council is looking at.
So I don't know where.
So one thing also too, I think is worth to point out is, you know, when you live somewhere, like your car is there when you're sleeping, you wake up, you go to work, that car is no longer, you know, maybe in front of your building, it's at your workplace. And then you come home, you know, parking, it is a static thing. And then because you have that 2-hour limit, if you left your car out all day, you're going to get tickets.
That's assuming that you work a day shift job Monday through Friday. Some people work night shifts, some people work from home.
So that even adds to the variety of when those cars are leaving, when they're staying, where they are. So, but again, so that's with the GID, and that's that all this yellow area.
And then with the Historic Preservation Commission, I know you guys, they didn't have to meet with them, but they did have some good questions that hopefully with that, we can ask the applicant, or maybe you guys will talk a little bit more about some of the materials and things like that.
Yeah, they had just questions of like how materials were selected,
Yeah.
why'd you pick them?
That's gonna-
Some questions about the cornice that runs along the entirety of the building. So yeah.
Honey?
Well, I had similar questions about some of the other design variances. Are these all just for aesthetic purposes? And if we have them, then why are we, it just feels like we're giving 6 different variances for 6 different design. Do we need to change our code and our design code? If it's, you know, that's okay that there's no step backs because nobody else has step backs. And that's okay that it's only 6-inch roof line change because nobody else has 6-inch roof line changes. Is it something that needs to be reviewed?
I can answer that, Emery. I think it's definitely worthy of consideration. What we're dealing with this specific building is that we have both non-residential design standards as well as downtown design standards that are applicable to this building. I think when you go outside of the central core of the city, you see a lot more variation in building design. And it certainly is something maybe we want to consider for downtown buildings, not applicable to this application, of course, but in my experience, it's not uncommon for design variances to be associated with new buildings downtown in my tenure with the city.
And I think too, to add on, so code, we had a new code in 2018. And not that many new buildings have been built in downtown. And sometimes it's hard to understand, like when you have a code, what that actually produces. And so like when you run through something through design review, and I just bring this one up because I found it interesting. Like when I was reviewing it, it's like, oh, okay, it's asking for this vertical articulation. And then it's really specific about that dimension. And then when you go around downtown, you see that vertical articulation on all these old historic buildings, you know, but it's all varying. So yeah, it's a great question. Some of this stuff when I was running through it, you know, and it came up with these 6 design variances. And then actually there was a couple other too that the applicant on the original design, they revised things a little bit to get rid of. So there were quite a few things where like actually running through this design, I was like, oh, like this is an interesting thing, you know, but again, until we actually have these buildings built, sometimes you don't know what that's going to look like.
And that's because it's the first time we've had a mixed use like this in a while. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. a totally brand new.
Because we've had other buildings built in that area, but they've been just a business or something like that. Is that accurate?
I would say since 2018, there's only like one or two like absolutely brand new buildings, one being A&B Bank.
Yeah, I was
which
thinking the bank, yeah.
I can't remember what process I went through, but
You know, the only other, I guess, semi large, redevelopment downtown was actually the current applicant, and they're building over on Cooper. And what I can say about the step back on their building is that it actually served a completely separate purpose, in that when you have a historic building, when you add additions to those buildings, you
Yeah.
want to step those back from the historic facade so that they're secondary to the historic structure that's there. So in their instance, it was encouraged by, Historic Preservation Commission and staff for that very reason.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would agree with Commissioner Guyman that having all these variances can be very confusing when you're looking at it and just like, oh, it's 6 inches out of code, so we need to create a variance because the variance does make sense. So, yeah, I think it would be great if, you guys, I mean, I know there's not going to be many buildings like this. I mean, that's the one thing.
And I would say again, just to reiterate, that's where staff found the recommendation for approval, is that in all of these, they're really getting to the intent of that regulation,
Right.
and providing really the benefits of that design, what the design standard is asking for, to have a varied roof line, to have different materials, just not, again, meeting some of these very specific standards.
Okay, any other questions?
I have one other question.
Sure.
If there's a fire, I don't see any way to, how are people there's no balconies, there's no,
So the building would be sprinklered, so it would have to meet fire code.
yeah, but without leaving.
And then also too, there's also egress within the building. So there's 2 sets of stairways. So the idea is you have a sprinkler building. If there's a fire, boom, all the sprinklers go on, slow down the rate of the fire. And then there's 2 stairwells, which you could exit, as opposed to just like if there was 1 stairwell, or if the building wasn't sprinklered at all, then you have less time. So you want, like, when you go to bigger cities and you see like all the old fire escapes and everything, all those were built before we had sprinkler systems. So
I don't know. I feel like if I was on the 3rd floor, I'd want to have a parachute maybe.
It's not the towering inferno. No, not worried. OJ.
But no balconies.
correct.
Okay, no questions.
Okay. All right. Everybody good? Ready to move on to the applicant? We're excited. Hopefully there's renditions. Let's see.
Yeah, you could do this.
And if you could just state your name and where you're from. Yeah.
We come out 210 East of
Yeah,
You
I get that.
getting PowerPoint up.
It's on
Impressive job by staff. They have to all agree with that. It's pretty amazing. I hope this isn't too repetitive, because he has done such a great job, Emery and Trent, summarizing this. Just hit this, I think. Sorry.
There'll be a survey at the end of this. I'll get back to the actual
Hi, guys.
PowerPoint. Oh, wait, I got it. Sorry. Technical difficulties.
Good evening. Chairwoman Connor Dent.
Uh-huh.
Hi.
Can you
And
say Can you state your name?
I'm getting that. And members of the board, my name is Ralph Whipple. I go by Chip. I'm principal of Whipple Development. Joining me here is my daughter Candace, my wife Lynn, and our architect of record, Kurt Caruth, Hinge Architects. And also online here is my son Alex, who's the will be the construction manager of the project, and Stephen Hopkins, who is our designer. So let's see here. What? All right. So before getting to the details of our application, I really just want to take one moment to acknowledge Emery Ellingson and Trent Hyatt with Community Development for their help and cooperation throughout this portion of the application process. Their professionalism and friendly demeanor have truly made working with the department a big pleasure. The city's very lucky to have these two gentlemen as part of their team. Our objective with this project has always been to deliver a well-designed building that complements the city while providing much needed housing and active ground floor retail space that supports the downtown corridor. We share the city's goals for attractive architecture, pedestrian vitality, and long-term community value. We've made substantial efforts to conform to the quality design standards. This shows the perimeter of the, there it is, of the lot. The site is centrally located in downtown Glenwood Springs, surrounded by existing commercial, residential, and civic uses. It benefits from immediate access to public parking, walkable streets, nearby retail activity. It's also served by public transportation, reducing reliance on the automobile. The property has strong connections to the river corridor and downtown amenities, and it sits entirely within the M2 district, where mixed-use development and urban density are not only appropriate, but encouraged. Architecturally, the building presents a thoughtfully modern interpretation of the traditional character of Glenwood Springs. The design incorporates a refined material palette of brick, limestone, stucco, and metal accents, resulting in a facade that is both contemporary and contextually appropriate for the downtown core. The ground floor retail activates the street and supports a vibrant downtown environment. This project will provide meaningful benefits to the Glenwood Springs community, most notably through the addition of 24 new apartment units, offering a balanced mix of 1- and 2-bedroom layouts. The development also includes 2 street-front retail spaces along 8th Street, each with separate entrances and expansive glass storefronts designed to foster an active, pedestrian-oriented streetscape. The project will substantially upgrade the underutilized vacant property with a 4-story mixed-use building, significantly increasing assessed value. Importantly, this building supports economic vitality and housing needs while generating a net fixed positive for the city of Glenwood Springs through increasing a taxable value and ongoing retail sales tax revenue. Now, to give you an idea of the actual layout itself, on the street level, there are 2 retail spaces of approximately 2,200 and 2,500 square feet, each with a private office, a restroom, and we have a dedicated residential lobby with a secure mailroom for tenants, a property management office, a full-service laundry room, trash area for all household garbage and recyclables, a transportation garage designed for 20 or more e-bikes, e-scooters, bicycles, along with electric charging stations. There are 2 stairwells plus a fully accessible passenger elevator. On the lower level, we've got the basement for tenant storage area for each retail store, plus private storage unit for each apartment resident. On floors 2, 3, and 4, which are our residential floors, we have 5 bedroom and 1 bathroom apartments ranging from 532 feet to 643 square feet. 3 2-bedroom and 1 bath apartments ranging from 804 to 912 square feet. In accordance with city requirements, 5 of the units, 2 2-bedroom and 3 1-bedroom, will be rent restricted. The building will also feature ADA compliant apartments. This, the picture here is a representation of one of the 1-bedrooms. And this is another rendering for the 2-bedroom units. I think Candace will hopefully explain the parking situation that has come up.
For this project, we took a close look at parking and traffic to ensure it fits appropriately within the downtown context. The development is located in the core of the Glenwood Springs area where walkability, access to services, and transit naturally reduce reliance on personal vehicles. From a parking standpoint, we're intentionally using existing downtown resources. We've secured 10 off-street parking spaces for residents nearby, and the city and CMC parking garage is within walking distance with free overnight availability. There are also multiple public parking lots and on-street spaces close to the site, along with bike storage and e-bike charging to support alternative transportation. Using a conservative downtown planning assumption of about 3/4 of a vehicle per household, based on the site's downtown location, mixed-use nature, raft to access, bike infrastructure, and our operating experience at our recently completed project, the Western, 24 units translates to roughly 18 vehicles total. That demand is easily supported by the secured off-site spaces and the large supply of existing public parking in the immediate area. To put that in context, there are 400 to 450 available public parking spaces nearby, so this project represents only a small fraction of the existing capacity. On the traffic side, a study by Apex Consulting Engineers using ITE standards shows the project will generate about 201 trips per day and roughly 15 trips during peak hours. When distributed across the downtown street network, the impact is minimal and no roadway or intersection improvements are required. Overall, this is a low-impact project that aligns with the city's goals for walkable, efficient downtown and makes smart use of parking and infrastructure that already exists.
So we respectfully request your approval of this design and our application as submitted. We believe this project substantially meets the intent and standards of the M2 mixed-use district, enhances the downtown core, and will contribute new housing and commercial vitality to Glenwood Springs. We have made every reasonable effort to comply with the city's design requirements while balancing constructability, durability, energy performance, and long-term urban quality. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, we'll bring it back to commissioners for questions for the applicant. Or, yes, right? Yeah, okay. Connie, do you have questions? Sorry, Commissioner Guyman.
Not right now.
I'll shoot. Is the CMU on the west elevation, is that just to achieve the fire rating and then where it's effectively?
We have a 4-hour requirement. And
Lot
that's
line to
the
lot
only
line.
way to achieve 4 hours is with CMU block.
That's because both buildings are built to the lot line, or would be built to the lot line, essentially.
Well, the Haycock Barnes building is about 1.5 feet off the property line, and ours will be 5 feet off the property line. So there's a 6.5 foot minimum distance between the buildings. It looks
Excuse me,
Looks closer with the rendering.
Chip.
Yes, go ahead, Steve.
Up at the 8th Street end, there's 1'9" between the two buildings, not 6 feet. The 6 feet is once you get 57 feet back. That's where we step the building back. So at the front of 8th Street, they're almost touching.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah.
the correction.
But essentially that CMU is not.
It'll
seen
be
from the street
completely
side.
hidden by the neighbor's building.
Right. Thank you.
So is that front of that building, I noticed like the doors are set back, or is that an awning? Is that what you would step under?
Yes, for element protection, rain, snow. Plus, we also have the awning at the entrance to the residential lobby. That projects over the sidewalk.
Okay.
So we have to get a special use permit for that? Encroachment permit for that.
So there's going to be 2 entrances into this building. This is the front, and then there's going to be another one in the back.
2 in the back.
2 in the back.
Yes.
Okay. And the back, how far does that go all the way over to the other street?
Do you have any pictures of the back?
No. It goes to the back of our lot, so it's 150 feet.
Okay.
It goes to the parking lot of the southern property from that.
Okay.
If I could interject there,
Yes.
primarily the back entrance or exit is for deliveries to the retail properties, and also for fire exiting requirements. We have a series of sidewalks and ramps around the backside of the building to allow people to escape fires, as you were concerned about. We actually have 3 exits off the backside plus 3 exits out the front side. So it is a very safe building. Meets all fire codes.
Can you clarify, is the back for deliveries or is the back for the entrance for the tenants?
For both.
There's dual use. Tenants can come in through the back if they choose, particularly if they use the bicycle parking area, then they may want to come in through the back door. But it's not for the retail spaces. The retail spaces are obviously on the 8th Street side. But they can take deliveries through the back, so delivery trucks don't have to park on 8th Street to make their deliveries.
I think it also works really well for the residents when they're loading and unloading, because you can park in the alley next to the building. The door is right there around the back. So there's good access for moving or just whatever else they would need.
Grocery delivery.
Yes.
How wide is that alley?
14.5 feet. I don't know if you caught that. It's 14.5 feet wide.
Got it. Thank you. Now, is that retail space, is that going to be strictly hard goods, or is that like restaurant consideration, or?
We've tossed this around a lot, and the city actually has a list of recommended or preferred retail clients. What we're thinking is to perhaps have some type of a coffee shop in there for one of the units, which would be a great amenity for the city, but also for the tenants. Kind of picture a Starbucks type setting where they could come down and have just another meeting place other than their own apartments.
So when you say the city has a list, do you mean just the food and beverage, retail, indoor rec? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Right. We don't
The-
know, we haven't really picked out an idea
Which
for
one?
the second one either.
You say we just wait.
Oh, yeah.
And then-
As far as restaurants go, no, because we don't want that type of activity after 5 o'clock,
Mhm.
where you would have noise and perhaps odors from a restaurant that could interfere with the tenants.
Okay, that was that was where I was trying to go.
Where you're going, yeah.
Without leading you. Do you have any other questions? Do you have any questions?
I'm kind of curious with your parking assessment that you did, you mentioned that you used the Western property to come up with that number. How many units and residents do you have at the Western, and what is the car total or like the ratio there?
We have 11 units at that residence, and I think it's, no, I think it's, yeah, either 5 or 6 cars that we have in that building.
Okay.
You have 11 and five cars? Wait, 11 units in the West End?
11 units, yeah, there's studio and 1 bedrooms over there.
And this will be 24 2-bedrooms?
And 1 and 2 bedrooms.
1 and 2 bedrooms. All right.
Yeah, we were actually quite surprised at the Western, not knowing how it was going to play out with the parking and not providing for parking there. And we were pleasantly surprised that so many of the tenants live within a 2-block area, 2 and 3. For work, sorry. And they don't have cars. They don't need cars. They don't want cars. And I guess the ones that do have cars have found spots that.
Yeah, no problem with spots.
Yeah.
So when you say you had 11 spots that you identified,
Oh, the 10 parking spots. So that's through Maxwell Anderson. They're gonna lease us spots.
okay, and then for this unit, I think you mentioned that
No,
you,
sorry, we don't have spots leased for the Western. That's all street, but we will for this next project.
for this one?
Yes,
Okay, because the parking lot behind this building is private.
yes, correct.
And so that could be an area of pinch is what I'm guessing if I was to live there.
We do have, same with the Western, there's a parking lot behind it
Mm-hmm.
and there don't seem to be an issue. I iterate to our tenants that you can't park there. They obviously can get ticketed.
And so when this came back, the one thing that I see is the alley. And is this a one-way alley? Can someone, it is not? We can talk about that.
I don't
maybe.
think it's restricted.
No, there's no one-way sign on it.
I wonder if
Cars
that's
go
something
both
we talk
ways.
about after.
Yeah, I was gonna say there are almost
Yeah.
no one-way alleys in the downtown core, and
Okay.
it all sorts of.
Feels like it. Narrow. Well, I'm just thinking, because if you're gonna pull out of here, you're pulling out like, I mean, you know, if we were leaving here, it's like even just coming here for the meeting tonight at 5:30, it's busy. This is a very, very busy area. It's backed up here. I think pulling out of that alley is gonna be very restrictive. I mean, it's,
Time you hit it, because 2 years ago, during a preliminary architectural meeting with the city, we had actually drawn up a building that had parking. And we were shot down to say, you cannot provide parking even if you wanted to, because they're so concerned with the egress and ingress off of 8th, especially during rush hours
Mhm.
and also on 9th.
Can I ask another question? Yeah. So I know you guys have that arch, which I actually really like the arch, but
Wait,
I know you have to cut the arch out because it's not really a variance specifically, but did somebody mention there's going to be some sort of rec center upstairs or something, or no? Okay.
No,
I was like, what's happening on the roof of that thing?
but we'd like to fight for that arch also. We think
And
it's a
then-
good look.
Is that building, is it the same height as the building next door?
No, it's lower than the one to the left.
Right,
The bank,
okay.
Citibank.
Okay. It's just an optical illusion.
It's hard to match those perspectives, man. It's really tough.
And so I see 2 balconies or some sort of fire escapey type of things, and the other building, is that some sort of, is that going to be an issue in the building of your building?
Well, it's a fire escape.
Is that what that is? It's a
Yeah.
fire escape?
So
Okay.
it's not used as a balcony or anything.
Oh, okay.
So we don't anticipate a problem with that.
I obviously don't go down that alley very often, so.
Nobody does.
Well, actually, I'll take that back. I go to sit down and have some from the taco truck, but anyway. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, and then I guess I have a couple more questions. Sorry. So the front is going to be, I see, is that steel? Is that what that's going to be?
The storefront on
Yeah.
the
It's
first
actually going to be aluminum, so it doesn't degrade over time.
Mhm. Okay, and the rest is brick, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And there's sandstone bands at the
Mhm.
top and at the kick plate.
Yep.
So
was
it's
my
it's all
next
in
question.
concert with the Glenwood vernacular.
Right.
But Emery brought up a good point, and the reason we missed the required glazing by a fraction was because of these kick plates.
Right.
And in the winter with Glenwood, the way it is, and the snow removal, if the glass were any lower, there's a good chance it could be broken, and having a little bit of a buffer there with that kick plate gave us the reason for not having the 2% difference or whatever it was.
So are those windows along that alley?
Yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah.
12%.
12%, yeah, okay. And then on the other side where the buildings almost are abutting each other, are there windows on that side
There
too?
are windows because the building does set in
Uh-huh,
after the adjacent Haycock building ends,
mhm.
and also actually before it ends. So those, yeah, so we have windows on all four sides.
Can you show this Colorado side view again?
Yeah.
That was
Oh, that was the one that we wanted.
Well-
yeah, there you go.
There you go. Lots of windows on that side too.
Mhm. Okay. Okay,
What's the timeline of how long it's going to be to construct this building, and what kind of mitigation is gonna be on 8th Street as far as like and 9th Street as far as traffic?
So we're looking at like a 1 to 1.5 year construction timeline and employing techniques to keep traffic off of 8th Street as well as the alley. And what that means is taking deliveries and taking them off the trucks, unloading as quick as possible, and using staging areas within the building rather than outside the building.
Are you gonna have to close down 8th Street then?
No, go after.
No.
Like, I
But
mean, for short periods, you know?
we're gonna have to take over the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Perhaps on some deliveries, we may have to cordon off just the width of the building so a truck could park there. But we don't have to close 8th Street. ever.
Not close 8th Street, but are you gonna stop traffic, like having the traffic?
Don't
rules stop
anticipate that.
or-
I mean, maybe if a cement truck pulls in or if it goes into the alley,
Mhm.
it shouldn't be blocking traffic on 8th Street. We're gonna work out a whole traffic mitigation plan for the construction plan with the
Right.
city.
And we do have the use of the 14.5 foot wide alley for most deliveries. So we're anticipating, the crane and the larger deliveries happening in the alley. And we'll try and time those around the local trash pickup times so that we're not in conflict. as
So
well.
the alley will be closed most of the time. No.
No,
No, just periodically when deliveries happen.
Yeah. Or when the
I may-
crane's set up. Right?
the crane won't take up the entire width of the alley, and these aren't big cranes. This is more or less like a travel lift type of crane, and you can get cars past it.
I was just going to mention that a major piece of the building permit application will be the construction management plan on this particular application if it were to be approved. 8th Street carries a significant amount of traffic every day, much more than I expected, approximately 8,000 cars.
yes.
So completely limiting access along 8th Street would likely be during nighttime hours. Most of the construction traffic will utilize the alley, and then again, that would be restricted to certain periods of time.
I would
And
guess that
our lot's 150 feet long, so we have a significant portion of our lot can handle these deliveries and handle the trucks while they're unloading and loading. So I don't actually anticipate blocking the alley for significant lengths of time either.
Well, you're talking about just loading and unloading. I'm talking about also like construction. You know, you're constructing that facade. Seems like 8th Street might have to have some periods of.
Well, we're hoping that we can keep that, and we're planning on keeping that just in front of the building. So where there's parking now, that might be reserved for construction at that particular time.
Also the sidewalks are 11 feet deep in that area. So that significant amount of space in front of the building that doesn't even impact the parking.
Any other questions for the applicant? No? Well, thank you so much for your presentation. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure.
Okay,
Okay.
now we will ask if there's any comments from the public about this project. In person or online? Hello, please state your name.
Good evening. My name is Cliff Haycock. Been a resident in Glenwood Springs since 1960. My business partner, Mr. Barnes, was born in Glenwood Springs. And we just happen to own the building adjacent to the one that's been constructed. So we're going to have the maximum impact during construction period and then for a long range period following that. And I know I can object to the fact that we're putting residential units in the core of downtown Glenwood Springs, considering all the development that has gone in West Glenwood, Meadows, 27th Street and Blake, 27th Street and Midland. And now we're proposing a whole new development at Cattle Creek. And the Whipples want to put a residential unit right in the middle of Glenwood Springs. I protest that. I'm objecting to that. Secondly, we lost several parking places when the bridge was built. The raft bus system has a parking space right at our building. They took up 6 parking spaces, which now are not available for clients to the tenants that are within our building. So we're objecting to that. And I know there's nothing we can do about that. It's set in concrete. They don't have to provide the parking, but that's going to have an impact on the tenants of our building. And lastly, if I just heard Steve correctly, he said that the facing 8th Street connecting to our building, there's only 1 foot 9 inches separation. That 1 foot 9 inches for however the depth is, I didn't get the depth. That's going to be a perfect place for the accumulation of snow to build up between these 2 buildings. And we think that has to be addressed either by covering that section. There has to be either heat tape or some way to remove that buildup of moisture between those 2 buildings. And it's one of our primary concerns. Thank you for your attention. And that's about all I have to say. That's my objection. Okay.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Anyone else from the public like to speak? Or online?
Can I just?
Can you approach the microphone?
Come up, yeah.
Do you need my name and all that?
The whole thing.
Yes, please. Shannon Holland. I actually live at 701 Canyon Creek Drive. And my dad actually is one of the partners in, that owns the neighboring building. My clarifying question was just around, I think they said they had 10 spots that they were leasing for the tenants of this building. And did you say they're at Maxwell Anderson? That's where the spots are gonna be leased?
In their parking lot.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that that you guys, because that seemed unclear when that question was asked before, that's where those spots will be.
Thanks, that's all I wanted.
Thank you. Okay. Can you approach the microphone, please?
Yeah, you did.
Well, maybe you asked the question. I was just wondering.
Can you approach, it's just for the record, sorry.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It's okay.
Well, according to the drawing, it looks like the buildings are right together. And yet I understand them to say there's windows on the east side of their building. How can that be?
Sir, would you mind stating your name for the record, please? Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry about
He,
that.
that's a question I think the applicant answered, but I did ask the question. And he did respond that there will be windows on both sides of the buildings.
But I mean, if the buildings are right like this, how can there be windows?
I am not a building expert, but maybe the applicant could come back up and answer that question for us. Or Steve, like he's raising his hand.
Yes, I'd be happy to answer your question. So in the first 57 feet of the building,
Okay.
it's on the first level, there's no windows at all. Then the building steps back 3 feet. So there can be a little space for light to come in, and there's 6 windows in that space. And then on the 4th floor, there's windows that will overlook the other building that face east also. So we've designed the building to not have windows in the very small 1'9" space. The minimum space we have is 3 feet. And then there's another step back where the building becomes 6 feet from the property line, but that actually occurs after the neighboring building stops. So it's all worked out so that we don't have windows in that little corridor. And my plan is to put roofing over it and fences on both ends and make that cavity inaccessible to snow, rain, rodents, anything. It's going to be a blocked in space that's completely a void so that we don't have any potential issues occurring in that tiny gap, because the gap's not even parallel. It varies, and we have a plan to plug that up. I've done a number of zero lot line buildings in California and other parts of the country, and I have methods for blocking that whole space off, and it just becomes a void, a ventilated void, so it can get air, but no pests, no debris, no snow, none of that will be allowed to accumulate in that space. And it's also paved in between. So again, the dirt's not even exposed.
Okay.
Thank you. That was a very comprehensive answer. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. I did think about it very hard and long and figured out a plan to work around it, as I always do.
Excellent. Okay, are there any more comments? All right, I think we will close the public comment section and bring it back to the commission for discussion and a motion. I have a question before we do that. So for the variances, should we do them separately? Or if somebody makes a motion to do them together, and I'm only saying to do them together because of the fact that some of these are, and Commissioner Guyman's statements are just like to rectify, 6 inches. So and I felt like we all got very good explanations, unless we should do them separately.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay.
I think you're fine doing it
Okay.
collectively. I mean, if you have people who want to pull one in particular out, obviously that creates a problem if you've got a motion for all of them, but I think we just see where you guys are at as you move through these motions. But
Okay.
if you want to do them collectively, that would be fine.
Okay. I just wanted to put that out there. Okay, so back to the commissioners.
Right, action item 1, the minor site and architectural plan. I move to recommend approval of the application, planning file ARC-000-130-2025. As it meets the approval criteria for a minor site and architectural plan with the findings and conditions outlined in the staff report, and that would be on packet page 30 and 31.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve. And can I get a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. And any discussion?
Feels like such a small group today.
I know. I think that, I mean, I have a few things to say, but I'll let you guys, because I'm in a different role today. So who would like to say something first?
Why don't you get us started?
Yeah, I mean, I think the applicant has done a really good job in trying to be a good neighbor, and, you know, meeting with parts of the community that they didn't necessarily have to meet with. I'm excited that this is, you know, we haven't seen a request like this in a really long time. It's going to give 5 resident occupied units, which is, I think, really important for the downtown area. And I do think it complies with the zoning. It meets design standards and aligns quite well with our comprehensive plan. So, yeah, I think the one thing will be the traffic safety issues, which I'm sure will be identified during the building planning process. The city will do an excellent job, I'm sure. Any other comments, questions, discussion?
Yeah, I think this is a project that if you took the comprehensive plan points and put it into a project, we'd be looking at it. Largely speaking, obviously nothing can be a perfect project.
Yep.
But we're getting density where we already have development and
Yep.
utilities. We're getting it next to transit. We're getting, like you said, the 5 deed restricted units. Well, I have a question maybe for staff on that. Are those income qualified, or is it just the maximum rent is 100% of AMI?
I have to remember my standards between my former job, but I think it's both for us. Is that right, Emery?
I believe it's just maximum rent.
Yeah,
There's not.
There's no income qualification.
Yeah, it's just.
It's flexible.
Yeah. Set it on AMI.
On average.
Yeah, this is one of those, it's one of those, one of our kind of lightest touch deed restrictions. As compared to the ones where we have both AMI and income qualified.
But yeah, I think it's a project that's done a lot to try and fit into the fabric of our downtown core. And it dovetails nicely with the comprehensive plan.
Yeah. I would like to see the arch somehow survive, but maybe that's just wishful. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that out loud, but I did. And now it's on record. Do you have any comments, questions? Okay, let's call the vote.
Did you have?
I was just gonna, I think it's beautiful, and I do think we do need more mixed use. I think that is the future of our downtown area. I do have some concern about parking and the limited amount of parking. It would be nice if people obviously had less cars and our city was able to sustain, you know, not having vehicles. And I do have concern about the construction process. I have been on sites where there's big buildings being built on roads, and I do think there will be pause of traffic on 8th Street, which I think is going to be a really big deal. So I'd like to make sure that that doesn't happen. 8th Street just stays open. But otherwise, I think it's really beautiful, and I'm going to second the arch.
Thank you.
Can we add that to the variance?
It's especially,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
actually
not a it's
considered
not a
signage.
variance.
Yeah.
They'd have to come back. Okay, so I think we can call the vote. Wait, can I
Yeah.
do this from here?
No, you're ready. Should be out.
It's been called.
Oh, it has. Okay. What do I do?
Yes, sir. If you were
Yeah.
to show it correctly on the screen, perfect.
Can I go
Yeah,
over here?
Yeah, just start over.
Okay.
Okay, we had pass unanimous since White is missing.
Okay. And then next. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Design variances.
that's where I was going next. Okay, now do I have a motion for design variances 1 through 6?
Okay, I move to approve planning file VAR 000019-2026 as it meets the approval criteria for design variance with the findings outlined in the staff report. That's on packet page 68 and 69.
Just for clarification, is that for the first design variance or all 6?
That would be for action items 2.1 through 2.6. So all 6 variances, design variances.
Thank you.
Okay, with that clarification, do I get a second, please?
I'll second the motion.
Commissioner Guyman seconds. And any discussion about the variances?
I just go back to the purpose section of our building design standards in the code, and it's called out in the code, the purposes to ensure compatibility, right? I think the intent of the code has been met, if not the letter, and that's why we have this process to allow for us an approval of the intent of the code being met in an alternative manner.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I do also agree with Commissioner Guyman in that maybe if there is another project to this scale, that maybe staff take a look at what should or shouldn't be a variance. Is 6 inches gonna be such a huge undertaking? I think, because then there's the whole building code side of things, that's not like something that we look at, but anyway. Okay, where were we? So we had a first and a second. Do you have any,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna reiterate that. I think it's kind of excessive to have 6 design variances, but to think that they're all okay, it makes me wonder why we have the design. I agree with John that it obviously meets the intent of the code, but it makes me feel uncomfortable to have six variances on the design, and I will just go back and look at those.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as the comprehensive plan, downtown vitality, housing supply, mixed use development, walkability, as Commissioner Houghton had said, it really is like a neat little package. So, okay.
And I saw the struggles over there with the agenda. We may just want to do a roll call vote on this one since we don't have the ability on the agenda for the second item.
Okay, so if you would state your name and a yes or a no, right?
Correct.
Thank you. I'll start with you.
Or we can call your name.
Would you call our names? That seems more fun.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Last name's fine.
Is there a particular order? Or?
No.
Commissioner Guyman.
Approve.
Houghton?
Yes.
Connerton?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right.
Do you want to take a minute? Is it okay if we take a break?
Yes, you could take a break, and we can certainly move forward with this item if you prefer. Obviously, we set this up as a work session, expecting more members to be here this evening. We can continue the conversation, or we can push it to next month if we prefer.
I mean, if it's a in the work session, I didn't even review the work session because I was so intense on these. But if it's a work session, I mean, it would be better if more of us were here. So, yeah.
I tried to get her to stick around.
Now, Joy bailed.
It took off.
She got in the car and she
Record
drove away.
reflects she ran away.
So would it be, is this where, okay, so I can continue?
Yeah,
I need a motion.
Yeah, I think it's a work session. I don't know that you even really need a motion necessarily. If somebody wanted to make a motion to continue to the next regular meeting, that would be fine. And then you can probably wrap things up instead of taking a break.
Okay. So maybe we will just entertain for our work session, a motion to continue to next time for when we have more players at the table.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Third.
All in favor? All in favor, say aye.
Oh.
Okay, so we're moving to continue the work session. Okay, so we'll bring it back to commission for
I have a comment.
I was going to allow our fearless leader to. Oh, we're first, and then it's okay. Yes. Do you have any comments, sir, for your first
go ahead.
meeting?
Not at this moment. No.
Commissioner Guyman.
Yeah, so I know I'm nerdy, but I like to watch the city council meetings recorded, not live. And I noticed this last meeting, somebody added advertisements. So you have to, like, every 15 minutes, a commercial pops up, and then you have to.
YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, but it's never been like that before because I'm a nerd and I've been watching them for a while.
I will check on that.
Yeah.
I thought with the way we're set up, that was not the case.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't need it when I-
Something said it must have like gotten changed on the
Yeah.
back.
The last
Okay.
two meetings definitely had commercials.
Yeah, city
Okay.
council needs money, we get it, but I don't watch the commercials anymore.
No, it was like,
You know, you
it
gotta
was,
monetize everything these days. No, well, I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Yeah.
I don't, for those of us that are in the room, we normally don't relive it.
And I don't watch it live,
too.
because,
So I appreciate that. We'll bring it up with Bree, who usually handles those things.
Okay.
Thanks.
Comments?
Yeah, I guess just piggybacking on that, why are work sessions not broadcast or recorded? And you don't have to answer, but
Yeah, no, well, there's a couple of reasons. One is, honestly, we oftentimes have a really hard time. The work sessions are usually down in the well. And historically, we have struggled with the audio being good enough for anybody to actually hear what they're talking about. And for it to be effective. We're not required to keep minutes in the same way for a work session. And so we've really just not used it. Otherwise, we have to move council up to the dais. It becomes a much more formal setting and feeling for them to work through issues and meet, if we have like a meeting with the planning commission, for instance, it just feels weird if you guys are in chairs out in front of them and they're sitting up at the dais and you're supposed to be having a conversation with each other. So that's really a lot of it.
just from a citizen's point of view, it feels like if we're making all this effort for transparency and to be transparent as a city, there's important discussion that happens at work sessions.
Yeah, and there have been a couple, like I think the vlog discussions, at least the second one for sure was recorded and available on YouTube, I believe. So I think it has kind of depended if they know it's going to be something that is super interesting. If they're doing an update with the Historic Preservation Commission, probably they're not going to record it or broadcast it. So I think that's certainly something you might want to take up with your, I can't remember where you live, so I don't know which one council member you can pick on. Is that Sumner? Yeah, pick on Sumner about it.
Yeah, because there has to be like a microphone you can put in the middle of a table where everybody can hear.
Yeah, I mean, there is sort of, if you have seen how
Yeah.
it's set up, it's the round table. There's supposed to be mics hanging from the ceiling that are supposed to work pretty well. I can tell you, having been online before trying to
Yeah.
to hear what's going on, it can be tough. So that's really like no reason to try to avoid it. It's just mostly been, I think, mostly technical than anything.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say kudos to staff. I mean, the packet was super comprehensive and I really appreciated it. Thank you, Emery, because the variances were incredibly difficult to figure out, and just really having to understand and really kind of map it out was, that was just really important. So thank you so much. So. Okay, and then comments from.
Just gonna say thank you for tonight. I know you kind of were left a little short-handed and filled in seats and kind of a last minute change in chair. So just thank you for that. And hopefully you enjoyed your dinner. Tried to make sure we had some good vegetarian options for you tonight. There was a debate on whether it was too close to Chinese, and we're like, no, not even close. It's perfect. Upcoming meetings, we had a conversation about lighting at the last work session. We may be bringing that one back around in terms of just actual code changes that we would recommend. We'll have the conversation about landscaping. That really is intended just to address some staff critique of the code and how we apply it to various development permits, as well as some considerations for the upcoming Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code adoption. We'll need to make some changes there. I don't think we have any major development permit applications coming up for next month. We had a couple in the works that kind of fell out, based once we got our hands on them and told them applicable standards and difficulties and challenges and whatever else. But thank you all very much. I think in terms of staffing levels right now, you guys, we promoted within our office Watkins Folk Gray to the housing development manager position. He's still going to serve in a planning role as well, so we're really excited about that. And we have Joel, who's going to be attending with our meetings tonight and moving into the future. Joel's been a fantastic addition to our office and as our building permit technician and really kind of our EP&L, our online permitting software kind of guru, and keeping us all together there. Does a good job. So I think that's about it from us.
Does the variance application, that's online, or are they typing that in? It is online? Okay, because the underlining was, cute. Maybe it should just be a text box. Okay. Well, without further ado, I get to hit the gavel. Yay.
Yep.
What?